Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie, this is Wiggles, and you're watching New Light Pets. Probably like many of you guys watching this channel, I grew up obsessed with animals. For years and years, I begged my parents to let me have a dog or a cat. I always wanted to have pets. I remember sitting at my grandmother's house and looking through all of her nature books and just being fascinated by all the images of the wild animals. And my sheer passion, admiration, and just genuine love for animals is something that's stuck with me throughout my entire life, which I think has led me to this point of fulfilling my dream of wanting to have a house full of pets. It is 2025 and I currently have 23 pets in my house. I know this is a crazy number. It's always shocking to people when I tell them how many pets I have, and I certainly do not want to glorify that because it's not something that's right for everyone. It takes up a lot of time. It is not easy, but it's something that simply works for me. And as I mentioned, it's my passion and my dream. And I love sharing the day-to-day ins and outs of pet care and just helping to educate other pet owners. But before moving forward with this video, I just want to make it known that I am not suggesting that you or anyone should have this many pets. I am simply grateful that I'm able to do it and share it with you all. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into the video today and let's meet all 23 of my pets. We can go ahead and start off with my oldest pet. This is Henry. He is probably about 14 years old and he is the pet that I have that has been with me the longest. He was a rescue and he was actually basically on sale at the shelter, and I received him for half off, so he was only $25, which is crazy. He's been my best buddy for many years. He's been with me as I've had children and grew my family and got more pets, and Henry is just the sweetest little old man gentleman. Next to Henry, I have this little girl flopping around. This is Magic. She is also a rescue, and I'm really not sure the age of Magic. She is missing her ear tip right here, which is a telltale sign that she was once a feral cat that was spayed and released. So somehow she did end up in a shelter, which is where I adopted her. I've had her for about 4 or 5 years, and she is just the sweetest little lover. I absolutely adore this cat. I can't imagine my life without cats, honestly. And this little bundle of joy has so much personality, and we just love her to pieces. I should mention I'm not really going in any particular order here. It's just going to be kind of random through this video, just who I find next, I guess. And in that case, we're moving on to Lili. She is a bearded dragon. She was the first reptile I really got into in my adult years. As a child, I did have an anole lizard for a while, but that was really my only experience with reptiles until fairly recently. About 4 or 5 years ago, I started getting into reptiles mainly because of this girl. We unfortunately got her from a PetSmart, which, as you will know now through watching probably a lot of my other videos, I am definitely more of an advocate for rescue, but at that time I really wasn't educated about reptiles in general, and the fact that bearded dragons are so overproduced, and nor did I even realize there was a possibility of rescuing them. But now that I know, I really choose to try and rescue. However, this is Lili. She is a PetSmart girl, but I love her dearly, and she really did open my heart to loving reptiles and becoming so fascinated with them. All right, next up, we have this little grumpy guy. This is Odie. He is my newest pet. He is an American mini pig. However, don't let that fool you. gonna put him down. Mini pigs are mini in comparison to a farm hog, which can be about 600 to 800 pounds. Odie could be up to about 200 pounds, but will probably be around 150. So they definitely are not small animals. He is currently 7 months old. So we are still working on a lot of training with him, but pigs are incredibly smart. However, they are not easy animals to keep whatsoever. Having Odie is basically like having a toddler all over. And with him being a piglet, it's honestly like having a baby. I'm woken up about every 2 hours or so in the night to let him outside. We are working on sleep training him right now. He's getting better with that, but if you ever consider getting a mini pig, just know you are going to have your work cut out for you. If you notice that Odie's skin is a little bit red, that's because he is dealing with a skin infection right now. So he was seen by 2 different vets. It took multiple trips to finally get him diagnosed with a bacterial skin infection. The cause is unknown. Luckily, it's harmless to humans and other pets, but he is currently being treated with antibiotics and steroids. This is another thing to consider with exotic pets. They do get sick sometimes, and when they do, it is extremely expensive. Both of his vet visits were around $300 to $400, which honestly I feel like is on the cheaper end considering he had testing done. But I mean, that's a lot of money, and it's also been very frustrating and difficult just trying to find a vet that even sees exotic pets in the first place. So just something to keep in mind. Odie will be fine. It will be about 2 weeks before we start to see his skin get better and resolved. So please send Odie some good vibes as he gets better. Next pet is currently brumating, and that would be Clementine. You can see her leg right in there in this cave. She will probably be asleep for about another month. I will insert some pictures of Clementine. She is a rescue bearded dragon. I found her on Craigslist, and she was living in a glass terrarium with no substrate, no UVB, and she was being fed a bearded dragon pellet diet, which is notoriously not good for these guys, and mealworms. She was in really bad condition. I have no idea how old she is, but she is now safe in her forever home, and she definitely is getting the proper care that bearded dragons need. Next up, we currently have Zeppelin. My ball python, as you can see, is heavily in shed. And the way you can tell is by his milky eyes and that pink tone on his skin. Normally, he is bright white. So I will not be handling him. However, I can tell you he was my second reptile after Lili in my adult years when I really started getting into reptiles. I did purchase him from a breeder before I learned everything about the reptile keeping hobby. As I've mentioned in other videos, I definitely really advocate for adopting ball pythons. They are just massively overbred, and there are so many of them in shelters. So shortly after I got Zeppelin, my ball python, that's when I adopted Maynard. Maynard I will not be able to show you guys today either because he's also in shed. It's very common when snakes are on the same feeding schedule to basically shed around the same time too. So he is off in his hide, but I will share some pictures of him. As many of you know who have been following my channel for a while, Maynard was a rescue who was also in very terrible living conditions. He ended up being tossed out by his former owner into a literal trash bag. He was basically starved to death. He was skin and bones. He was covered in wounds from likely a heat mat that had burned him. So thankfully he was taken to a rescue where he was given proper treatment, and I then adopted him. Maynard is by far just one of the absolute loves of my life. Despite all the horrible things he went through, he is the sweetest snake I have. He's the friendliest, the most outgoing, and I absolutely adore Maynard so much. I have no idea how old he is. He is full grown, so he's likely somewhere over the age of 5. All right, well, since he entered the room, I'll introduce you guys to Wiggles. This is my dog. He is a boxer American Bulldog mix, and he is the craziest, dopiest little dog you will ever meet. Definitely not little. I don't know why I said little. But he's such a good boy, and he's the best family dog. He's so gentle with my kids, and I just love him so much. Okay, now for this beautiful girl. This is Penelope. She is a Cuban false chameleon. She is definitely one of my more unusual critters, I would say. Most of the time when people come over, they have no idea what species she is because they aren't super common, but they are very, very cool lizards, super calm personalities. I think they make great pets, especially for people that are new in the reptile keeping world, because they are just so calm and gentle and really fascinating. Moving along, we're coming out to the catio to meet Silver. Come on, Silver, come in. Let's meet everybody. Say hello. Silver is our youngest cat, and she was a rescue as well. She is a little spaz, but we absolutely love her. We rescued Silver when she was a kitten, so she is, I think she's, let me think here. She's 2.5 years old. All right, this beautiful girl is Aussie, who is a blue-tongued skink. She was also a rescue and came from a very horrible situation. She was used for a breeding project, and then the person using her decided they didn't want to keep her anymore due to her appearance. I think she's beautiful. But she was not kept in a proper enclosure. It was just a plastic tub, which is why she has deformed fingers. As you can see, her poor little toes are all completely deformed because she didn't have proper substrate or slate, and it caused her toes to basically curve under. But despite all that, Aussie, she was a bit of a tough go when we first brought her home. She was rather defensive. However, she's adjusted very well, and she is living a much better life. She's in a 5x2x2 enclosure, and in the summertime she gets to go outside and enjoy natural sunlight. So I think she's doing much better, and we absolutely love having her as a pet. These guys are very fun frogs to have. They're super silly. They make a really loud croak, I will warn you of that, but I actually really enjoy it. But today I'm only going to introduce you to one of them. I'm not going to pull them all out. This is their sleep time. They are nocturnal, but you guys get the idea. They are just absolutely adorable. Since we are on the subject of frogs, I will introduce you to this chunky friend. This here is Gravy. She is an African bullfrog, also known as a pixie frog. She is about 2 years old, and honestly, for a pixie frog, on the smaller side, but females are generally much smaller than the males. That can be like the size of a dinner plate. She is a garbage disposal, and she basically just hides all day long and waits for food to come to her. But how can you resist this adorable face? And if you guys are wondering why I wear gloves while handling my frogs, it's because frogs have very permeable skin, so they can absorb things that are on your skin like lotions or soaps that can be basically harmful to them because it absorbs very quickly through their thin skin. So it's very important to wear gloves and protect your frogs when you are handling them. All right, now for the newest reptile that I have, that would be Disco. I got Disco last spring or summer, sometime around there. And Disco is a Herman's tortoise. He is a baby, as you can see. He was even more tiny when I first got him. You can look back on some of my older videos and see, believe it or not, he was smaller than this. But tortoises, they live a very long time, and they also take a very long time to reach full size. So Disco will likely be growing for about 5 years before he reaches full maturity. And despite the fact that he is a smaller tortoise, he's still quite a lot of work. He requires a lot of space, a very intricate diet, and he also needs an outdoor enclosure in the warmer months. So tortoises, they're adorable and they're wonderful, but it's certainly not a pet for everyone. Okay, now for my friend Ekko here. Ekko is a Pearl Island boa, and these guys are considered to be dwarf boas because they remain on the smaller end, although he is very, very active and rarely can sit still. But he will probably max out at about 4 to 5 feet, and obviously much thicker than this. Ekko is, I believe he's close to 3 years old. So boas usually reach full size at about the age of 5. So he's definitely got more growing to do. I think these are just a really cool, unique species of boa. They're very, very beautiful, and I love how active they are. They're also a lot more arboreal. As you can see, he keeps trying to go higher and higher, and that's because they prefer to climb and be above ground. But if you like boas and you want a smaller species like I did, a Pearl Island or a Hog Island boa is a great option. This squirmy little noodle is my corn snake Hendrix. Trying to show you his derpy little face here, but as you can see, he does not like to sit still either. Corn snakes are notoriously like that. He is, I think he's about 3 or 4 years old. He is very small. Corn snakes also grow for about 3 to 5 years, so he's still got more room for growing, absolutely. But I think corn snakes make really, really fun snakes to keep. I really enjoy having him. He's got a very outgoing personality for a snake. Sometimes I'll just see him sitting there peering out at me from his enclosure. So he's definitely more active than my ball pythons, and an excellent eater. So for a first-time snake keeper, I would definitely recommend a corn snake. Just make sure you're always doing your research despite what pet you're getting. Last but certainly not least of our reptile gang, we have Scooter, who is a leopard gecko. Scooter is actually my daughter's gecko. However, being a parent of a child who has a reptile, I do a lot of the care for Scooter. If you have kids that want reptiles, just keep in mind that you are definitely going to need to be the one taking care of them. And reptiles are not an easy responsibility. Leopard geckos can live 15 to 25 years. However, if you have a child that is of reasonable age, my daughter is 10, and you want to teach them about responsibility and caring for an animal under your supervision, I definitely think it's very, very good for children to have pets. This here is my third and final cat that I'll be showing you today. This is Kion. He was also a rescue cat. He is a very lazy boy. He likes to sit in here and sleep with the dog pretty much all day long. If you hear oinking, it's because Odie is coming upstairs too. Hi, buddy. For some reason, the animals just think they own our bed and they can just hang out in here and sleep whenever they want. And honestly, it's because they can. They are our family and we love them so much. And if you're like, ew, she doesn't have sheets on her bed. Well, yeah, I don't have sheets on my bed. It's laundry day, guys. Please don't judge me, okay? And just to show a little reality behind the scenes, my reptile room is also my laundry room. So it's not all glitz and glamour over here, guys. Sometimes my house is a wreck, especially on laundry day. All right, so for the final part of the video, I just have to introduce you guys to our ferrets. So we're gonna go ahead and go into the ferret room there, and then that's where we're gonna end the video. I just woke them up. There's Zuko. And they do have access to this entire room. As you can see, their cage is always open, but they do like to go in there and sleep. There's Daisy, and then in the warm months, they have access outside of this window to their outdoor enclosure, but it is winter time right now, so that window is shut until spring. So these are the three little weasels, Zuko, Daisy, and Bear on the far end there. Daisy and Bear were rescues together. They were living with a family that just didn't really have time for them anymore, and they were spending too much time in the cage. So that family was looking to rehome them, which is when we got them. And then eventually we adopted Zuko. Zuko is the youngest, and he is definitely the craziest of the guys. Ferrets are so much fun. They are so adorable, but they are definitely not easy pets. They poop a lot, their poop stinks, and their diet, if you're feeding them raw, is very expensive. I don't like to feed ferrets kibble because it does cause a lot of health issues, so we do raw in our household. All right, guys, well, thank you so much for joining me on another video. Don't forget to hit that like button if you like this video. And if you're new here, hit the subscribe button. I put out weekly pet videos. And until the next time, you guys take care.